and welcome to Everything and Nothing. My name is Jolie. This is the first episode of this experiment. I've never really done anything like this before, but I thought it could be a fun new little hobby. My friend from work who suggested it. She said that she thinks that I know a little bit about everything and that my voice is nice to listen to, so I should start a podcast. I personally prefer having some kind of visual element. I don't really listen to a lot of just strictly audio podcasts, so I figured I would try this out with a video format, and then if I can figure out how to upload it as a podcast on other platforms, I will do that too. I do have a microphone to use, but I don't have a way to plug it into my laptop, so I'm gonna rely on my earbud for now, but next time I do this, I should be able to use an actual microphone. I got a microphone for my girlfriend for Christmas, and that's what I'm gonna be using because she uses it for like being on calls with her friends, so I'm gonna borrow that from her. Next one should sound nicer, but hopefully for now this is good enough. So my idea for this is just kind of picking a topic to start with and then just talking. I feel like that's what I'm good at. I don't think I'd be very good at like a very structured, like, these are the topics that I want to talk about today. My brain is too tangential for that. I found out recently, like a year ago, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and apparently like everything that I thought was wrong with me is actually a symptom of ADHD. I honestly thought that I just sucked. Like, I thought I just sucked at being a person. I didn't know that there was like an actual reason for that until I was in a therapy session, and my therapist very casually was just like, oh yeah, you do this thing because of your ADHD. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have ADHD. And she's like, are you sure you don't have a diagnosis in that? Because you definitely have ADHD. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And so she's like, okay, yeah, talk to your psychiatrist because you definitely have ADHD. And so I did, and I went through like the diagnostic process, and it turns out I have like really severe ADHD, which made like my entire life up to this point make so much more sense. Like, so much, like stuff from school and stuff from like my social life, and like I have very severe executive dysfunction. I had an x-ray that I was supposed to have done like weeks ago, but it's walk-in only, and so because I didn't have an appointment, I just never did it. Like, if I don't have an appointment for something that's like, if I don't go to this, I'll be charged a late fee or like something like that, I just won't do it, no matter how much I want to. And so I was like supposed to have this x-ray done forever ago, and I finally did it. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's this thing you've been putting off for so long, and when you finally do it, it is the quickest, easiest thing in the entire world. But I never learned from that. Like, I'm not gonna take this lesson with me for the next thing that I have to do. There's so much stuff that I'm putting off right now that is gonna be so easy when I finally do it. Like, I'm in school now for the first time in 8 years, I think. I graduated in 2018. So how many years is that actually? Hang on. 7 years. 7 years. And this semester, the winter spring semester of 2025, is my first time back in school since I graduated high school. And it's been like kind of back and forth on whether or not I'm having like a good time. There's definitely been some moments of just, I've procrastinated this thing for literally no reason, and I finally do it, and it takes 30 seconds. Like, I'm only in 2 classes, and they're both online because I work full-time. And so, well, not really full-time now, but that's a whole separate story that I'll probably get into, I don't know. I'm in 2 classes online right now through our local community college, and both of them, the primary like assignments are discussion posts, and like through that format, and both of them you have to do like your comments, like 1 or 2 depending on the class. And I always put off doing the comments to the very last minute, and then I finally do them, and it takes like a couple minutes. And like for like 3 days beforehand, I'm stressing out. I'm like, God, I have to do this thing. I have to go home. I have to do my comments. I'm stressing out about it. I'm anxious. And then I finally do it. It takes 2 seconds. And then I do it all again next week. So I don't really know what to do about that one. I brought that up with my psychiatrist, and he's like, yeah, that's not really something that your Ritalin is going to help with. That's just kind of like something you have to work through and figure out your coping mechanisms, like on your own or with therapist or whoever. I'm not really like seeing my therapist super right now, just because like I have been being able to like cope on my own with stuff a lot better than I used to. So I'm like gonna save some money and just kind of handle shit on my own as much as I can. So yeah, I'm trying to find some ways to like manage both my memory and executive dysfunction. Memory is something that is like my worst enemy. I have such a bad memory. My girlfriend will tell me plans that we have, and I'm like, yeah, totally, I'm down. She'll remind me of it like the day before, and I'm like, yeah, awesome. And then the day comes and she's like, oh, remember these plans that we have? And I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. You never told me this. And she's like, Jolie, yes, I did. We talked about this multiple times. But no recollection, no brain. I think that's kind of why I felt like the name Everything and Nothing worked for this, is I'm a very scatterbrained type person, and I like to learn a lot. Most of the stuff that I like, most of the content that I consume is either like commentary stuff or it's like somewhat educational. But I don't absorb and remember a lot of information. I'll just remember like bits and pieces. So like in conversation, I'll be like, yeah, I watched this video about this thing and it was super interesting. I can remember one single fun fact about it. Can't tell you anything else. So I don't know, maybe I need to start taking notes when I watch my YouTube videos. Who knows? But God, my cat is like blending in with the plushies. That's so cute. This one's Judah. I don't know where the other one is, but I have Judah and the other one is Birdie. And outside is my girlfriend's cat. Her name is Speck. She's outside because my cat Birdie is not very good with other animals except for Judah. She freaks out. So they are kept separate currently. We also, in the house, my girlfriend has a tarantula. She's an Arizona blonde tarantula. Her name's Imola. She's named after one of the Formula One tracks, and she's a baby. She doesn't like being held. She's a scaredy cat, but she's very cute. Before meeting my girlfriend, I had like crippling arachnophobia, like crazy crippling arachnophobia. I couldn't even think about a spider without like getting super anxious. And so when I met my girlfriend and she told me that she had a tarantula, I'm like, oh my God, is this a red flag? Do I need to immediately break up with this person? I didn't, luckily, obviously, but for the first like 6 months we were together, anytime I was like in the bedroom where Imola's tank is kept, or used to be kept, it was in her old apartment, I couldn't have my glasses on. I would take my glasses off, so even if I looked over there I wouldn't be able to see her because like I'm blind as shit. So that was like the way that I coped with that. And then like slowly over time, like I would sit on my girlfriend's bed and just kind of watch, and like it was very anxiety inducing. It freaked me out a lot. I had nightmares a couple times just from sitting and watching Imola for a while. But over time, over like a year, it like kind of cured my arachnophobia just through like super extensive exposure therapy, which is fucking cool. I am like super glad that's something that I was able to do. There's still some stuff that freaks me out. I do not like when spiders are moving fast, or like you'll see videos of like burrowing spiders and they jump out and I'm like, I'd rather die. Like, fucking kill me now. I don't want to. Scares the shit out of me. I hate it. One thing actually that I saw recently, one of my favorite YouTube channels is PBS Eons. They are so fun and interesting. I'm like a super paleontology nerd. I love that shit so much. If there was more viable like career options for me, I would so go into paleontology. I love that shit. So PBS Eons is like one of my favorite like go-to YouTube channels. And one of their most recent episodes that they did was on the evolution of spiders and insects, and their like almost arms race evolution. It was like super competitive. Like the way that it happened is like insects left the ocean. I don't really remember the details of the beginning of it, but insects left the ocean and the like ancient relatives of spiders ended up following them up, and then like they each started evolving ways to like outsmart each other. So like initially spiders were like using silk to make like burrows and funnels, and they would like jump out and grab insects crawling and like take them back into their burrows and eat them. And then over time, insects developed flight, so the spiders couldn't like get in their burrows anymore. And so spiders like evolved to develop like web making, like the spinnerets that like make the webs. So they like get up in trees and shit and make the webs and catch the insects. And so like they were dominant in that for a while, but then fucking pterosaurs and birds happened, and so they would just like destroy the webs and destroy all the spiders' hard work. And also it was like a really easy snack for a pterosaur or a bird, because a spider is just like sitting, hanging out, waiting for an insect to come in. So then after that, this is like 60-50 million years ago, spiders returned to the ground and started burrowing again and like making their like nests in the ground to like jump out and get their prey again. They've returned to that like predatory method. And I think that's just so cool. The like competitive nature of the way that insects and spiders evolve together, I think is so interesting. And like as somebody who did have like super crippling arachnophobia for so long, I definitely feel like I missed out on a lot of really cool shit that I could have been experiencing and learning about spiders, just because I avoided like anything to do with it at all costs. So I'm really glad that's something that I've been able to move past. I feel like I have a lot of like not irrational, but like semi-irrational phobias. Like I'm terrified of the open ocean and being underwater in the ocean. It scares the fuck out of me. I hate it. And there's this trailer that has played before a couple movies that my girlfriend and I have seen in theaters recently, where it's like this dude, I don't know if it's like military or what, but this dude is like stuck at the bottom of the ocean in like a like diving gear situation. I don't remember the name of the movie. I'll look it up and like insert the title of it here or something. But we saw it was before Nosferatu, was the first time I saw it, and it was the last trailer that played before Nosferatu, so scared the shit out of me. I was terrified, and then Nosferatu starts, which is also like a freaky ass movie, so it was just very anxiety for me. But yeah, open ocean, big stuff coming out of nowhere is something that fucking scares me so much. And that's like especially a thing in the ocean. Just like really big creatures can just sneak up on you and you have no idea until they're right there. There's this fucking years ago now, like 4 or 5 years ago, there was this video I saw back when I still had TikTok that was like this very nice, serene, like underwater, like coral reef scene for a couple seconds, and then this giant anglerfish. It's like it's like CGI, it wasn't real, but this giant anglerfish just appears out of nowhere and is like opening its mouth towards the camera, and I had a panic attack. it scared the fuck out of me. And that is kind of like, not like the beginning of this fear, but that's kind of when I realized that I had this fear. And it doesn't come up like that often. It mostly comes up in like movies and stuff. But the one time that it has really affected me like in real life was 2 years ago. For mine and my girlfriend's first anniversary, we did a road trip up to Seattle. Like we did Crescent City, Tillamook, Astoria, and then to Portland, and then up to Seattle. And then on the way home, we just took the highway down back to where we live in California. And we were driving through Shasta, like right above Redding. And it was like late at night. I was the one driving, and it was like very foggy. And out of nowhere, through the fog, Mount Shasta just appeared. And I had such a panic attack. It scared me so bad. Just something huge just appearing out of nowhere. I don't know if that fear has a name, like if that's a phobia with a name, or if it's just some weird shit that I have. But oh my God. Not fun, not cool, especially coming on the ends of like a road trip. I was tired, I was exhausted, I like was so spent, like I had nothing left in me. And so being scared like that at the very end of a road trip was not cool, not a fan, don't recommend that. But that trip was fucking amazing. Mine and my girlfriend's 3rd anniversary is coming up in like a little over a month, and we're gonna do another little trip into Nevada for this one, and I'm really excited. Last year we didn't end up doing a trip just because money, so this year I'm really glad that we're gonna be able to. It's gonna be cute. She's planning most of it. She's way more of a trip planner than I am. I'm not good at that stuff, so that is in her capable hands and not mine, and I'm fine with that. I like that way more. And I think she enjoys doing it a lot more than I do, for sure. Like, she's the type of person where if we want to go to a restaurant, she goes onto Google Maps and looks at every single restaurant, and she'll save all of the ones that she thinks are interesting, and she'll look through all the menus and all the photos and like just be like super detailed in her explorations. Whereas like if I want to pick a restaurant, I almost always go with somewhere we've been before. And that's it. Somewhere I know will be good, that we've been to before. So she's way more of a planner in that sense than I am. But yeah, it's crazy that it's been 3 years for us. It feels like time has gone by so fast, but also like gone by really slowly at the same time. And so much has changed for both of us in that time. Like, so much. I feel like I am a completely different person now than I was 3 years ago. Just completely different. And like, I'm in such a different place in my life right now in so many ways. So it's just crazy to think about. Like, I'm in a totally new job than I was at the time. I feel like I know a lot more about myself than I did. I feel like style-wise, I've really come into myself. I think that's just growing up though. I'm 24, and that I feel like is a big jump from 21. When I was 21, I still felt like a teenager, honestly. Which that also kind of has to do with some other stuff that was going on in my life up to that point. But even besides that, I did kind of still not feel like a fully grown adult yet, which I wasn't. I don't think you can really consider yourself to be a fully grown adult at that point, but turning 24 definitely felt like the first time that I really felt like an adult. Like, that felt like a very definitive grown-up number. I think part of that is because my girlfriend, very shortly after we started dating, turned 24. And I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, she's so mature. Like, she's an adult. Like, she's so, like, she has her shit together. It's like, she's 3 years older than me. She's not that much older than me, but still, that was just kind of my thought process at the time. And then I turned 24 and I'm like, oh my God, like, time has gone by. What the fuck? But yeah, like, I don't know. I really like where I am in my life right now. I really like my job. I'm a receptionist in a hair salon, and like, it's part receptionist work and part a lot of cleaning. Like, I do so much cleaning, but I really love where I work and I love the people I work with. And next month, I'm actually getting a second job just to kind of supplement my income a little bit, because my hours at work are a little bit decreased right now. So I'm getting a second job next month, and I'm actually going back to where I worked before getting this job at the hair salon. So I'm really excited about that because I really loved that job when I worked there too. My manager there is like one of the best people I've ever worked for, and my current manager at the hair salon is also one of the best people I've ever worked for. So I think it's gonna be great. It is a little unfortunate because this second job, it's a retail job. It's 40 minutes away, whereas my current job at the hair salon is 5 minutes away from where I live. So that is gonna be an adjustment to go back to, for sure. That's one of the reasons why I left that job in the first place. Was I got offered this new one, and at the time I really intended to work both because I really liked the retail job so much. But because it was 40 minutes away, the hours just didn't work out right. Like, at the time I got off at 5 at the hair salon, and the closing shift at the retail place is 5 to 9, and so there was no way I could make that work. But now I get off an hour earlier, so I have plenty of time to get down to the other job and do the closing shift there. So it's gonna work out perfect, I think, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be good. I've definitely had some like struggles recently. I'm chronically ill. I've got some physical disabilities, and there's been some worsening symptoms recently, which is fucking uncool. That's what the x-ray was for that I was talking about earlier, was to do with that. So there's definitely been some downsides, but progress is being made. I have a really good doctor right now. I only started seeing him like 6 months ago, but he's fucking fantastic. He is like one of the youngest doctors I think I've ever had, and I really prefer that in a doctor. I think I definitely feel a lot more like heard by him and a lot more connected. And like, I remember when I first saw him back in like September or whatever, when he came in the room, I feel like he must have seen the just relief that washed over my face. I'm like, not another old man. Like, because I've had a lot of doctors who are old men who just do not fucking get it. They don't get it. And when you're a young woman with invisible illnesses, if you have a doctor who just doesn't get it very much, you're not getting any help, you know? You're gonna get told to do some yoga and fuck off. But this new doctor I have has been just fantastic about really trying to look into what's going on and finding a better diagnosis and a better way to treat it, and it's been very helpful. I've definitely had some moments of, I would say, intense pessimism about it all, which I think is a little inevitable when you have stuff that just isn't gonna get better. But when I first saw this new doctor, he's the first doctor that I've seen who acknowledged the fact that I'm not going to get better. And the point of all of this isn't to fix what's wrong with me, but find better ways to manage it. And hearing that was so fucking cathartic. Like, it honestly felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. Just being able to sit there and like acknowledge and accept that, yes, I'm not getting better, but I do need to find better ways to manage what's happening. I've never had a doctor acknowledge that. I feel like everyone I've ever seen has been hell-bent on trying to either fix what's wrong with me or pretend nothing's wrong with me. And so having a doctor really like go into that with me was just so nice. I feel like my medical experiences could fill an entire episode of this because I've been dealing with the issues that I have for 12 years at this point. So if I really wanted to go into the nitty-gritty of it all, this could easily fill an entire episode, but now's not the time, I don't think. Not for a first episode. I feel like I've gone into enough oversharing at this point, but really this whole thing is probably going to be just a ridiculous amount of oversharing. I feel like this is just going to be like an auditory diary almost, which honestly, what's wrong with that? I think it's fun. I think like just as a hobby, this is going to be a good one for me because I love talking. That's what I'm best at, I think, which when you first meet me, I don't think you would guess that about me because I am a very socially anxious person, not so much with like total strangers who I'll never see again, which is like why I'm good at like retail and being a receptionist and stuff. I don't have any problem with strangers, but with like acquaintances and like people who I don't know very well but I am going to have to see again, so like coworkers especially, and like friends of like my family or my friends who I'm meeting for the first time, like meeting my girlfriend's friends for the first time. Her name's Elise. It'll be easier than saying my girlfriend. Meeting Elise's friends for the first time, and like the first few times hanging out with them. I'm very quiet and very reserved, which I'm sure if you've gotten to this point watching this, you would not think that about me. But in environments where I'm around new people who I am going to see again, I get very, very anxious and very quiet and very reserved. So every like time I've started a new job, I don't say a word to anybody. Like I'll talk to the people who are training me, and like if one of my coworkers talks to me, I'll talk back, but like I'm not going to start a conversation with anybody. And that can last for like a few months until I really feel comfortable with the people I'm around. At the hair salon job I'm at, I was lucky enough that one of the girls who works there, she's been cutting my hair since I was 16. And she's actually not like how I got the job. I think I would have gotten the job regardless, just with my fucking qualifications, but she's who informed me that the position was even open in the first place. So I was very grateful for that, and having a friend there already helped a ton with feeling comfortable and like being able to talk with people and make friends and shit. And now I'm friends with all of my coworkers. Like I would hang out with any one of them. They're like all so lovely. And I feel like it's always such a red flag. Like most of the time it's a red flag if your boss or manager, whoever, tells you that, oh, we're like a family here. Like usually if you hear that, fucking run in the other direction, because that means you're gonna get mistreated to shit. Like I had another job in the past say the same thing, that we're like family here, and it's like one of the worst places I've ever worked ever. Just horrible. But here, like at this hair salon, it is absolutely true. Like I feel so like close with all of my coworkers and so accepted by them, and like I can talk about anything with them. I really love and value the relationships that I've formed at this job. And like I said, my friend from work is who suggested this idea in the first place. So I probably wouldn't have done this if not for her. And actually, I wouldn't have enrolled in college if it wasn't for her. I have wanted to for a few years, and my parents have wanted me to for a few years, but I've just never really made it happen. Part of that was the executive dysfunction, for sure. But part of it was fear. Like, I was scared to do something new. I was scared I'd be bad at it, you know? But my friend has been doing online school through this community college, and one day when we were at work, she just got online on my account and signed me up for classes, basically. So I definitely wouldn't be doing it if not for her. And something else that helped a lot is Elise started her like college journey last semester in the fall. And so I think having all of her experiences and then my friends' experiences helped me feel a lot more comfortable with starting school for the first time in 7 years. So yeah, it's crazy to think how like different my life would be right now if I hadn't met the people that I did at the times that I did. You know what I mean? Because like my relationship before this ended in a very abnormal way, I guess. And so I always think a lot about like if that hadn't happened, like I would be a totally different person than I am now. And like if I hadn't gotten my hair cut at this place for years and years, I wouldn't be the person I am now either. If I hadn't been on fucking Bumble in 2022, things would be so different, just so different. So it's always very interesting to think about. I get really preoccupied with the idea of like alternate universes, and like each decision that you make like creates an alternate universe where you made the opposite decision. I think about that shit all the time, especially while I'm driving. I'll think like if I left my house 2 minutes late, I could have gotten in a car crash. I would have had no idea. I could have completely avoided that alternative like reality where I got in this car crash because I left my house 2 minutes later. But I also especially think about it in terms of like for high school, I did independent study because my chronic illnesses began and I couldn't really do school properly at the time. So I did independent study, and recently I've been thinking a lot about like how different my life would be right now if I had gone either stayed at the school I was at or gone to a regular public school. Everything in my life would be completely different. And there are alternate realities where, well, theoretically, there's alternate realities where those things did happen and I'm just a completely different person. So that's something I've been thinking a lot about recently. Another one is, of course, like what jobs I worked, and also choosing to do online dating versus like waiting to meet somebody in person, stuff like that. Like there's just all of these potential alternate Jolies out there who are just completely different. Another one that I think about a lot is actually if I had been named something different, like how different my life could be just from having a different name. So my parents had thought about some other ones for me. And so like, I don't know, it's crazy to think about just like how many decisions you make every day that like butterfly effect into these like completely different yous that might exist out there in some reality. I think it's really cool. I've always thought it was really cool. When I was in high school, I was really into astrophysics, and when I graduated, I really thought that that's the field I was going into, but I decided to take a gap year because I graduated when I was 17. I graduated a year and a half early, and I didn't want to be 17 in college. I wanted to be an adult. So I decided to wait a year, and then I made my movie. I started making it. It was me and my dad, and like we were working with like a smaller company to do it, and it's actually back in post-production right now after a long time of not being worked on just because of COVID and some other stuff. So hopefully at some point I'll be able to promote my film on this channel, on this show. That'll be really nice. But for like 2 years after school, after I graduated high school, I was working on the film, and so I didn't go to college. Like, I chose not to. And then I just kept not doing that. And then COVID happened, and I met my last partner, and it just never happened until now. I don't remember where I was going with that one. I know I was talking about alternate realities for a minute, but I don't know if that was part of the same thought or not. I lost that one. There's an ADHD symptom for you, I guess. It is crazy how many, like, personality traits that I have that I've found out are symptoms of ADHD. And I think everyone in my life is so sick of me talking about it, but I can't not talk about it because, like, it's just stuff that I never would have even considered were a symptom of something. Like I said, I thought I just sucked at everything. I thought I was just bad at existing. Another one that my therapist has talked a lot about with me is black and white thinking. I'm very much a person who's like, this thing is either this or it's that, and there is no in between. And it's something that I work a lot on, but it's hard. That one is like, that and the executive dysfunction are ones that I think are the most difficult for me to work at. But the black and white thinking, it's so just like subconscious. I don't even like realize that I do it until it's pointed out to me. That one is definitely what I would consider to be a character flaw. It has been a difficult one for me for sure, but I definitely feel like getting the ADHD diagnosis has helped just for like knowing that like the stuff that I struggle with has a name. There's a known cause for it, and it's not just I'm a bad person. And it's also like looking back to childhood too, because like my mom had to fill out a survey about like me as a kid. Like I did it and she also did it, and I found it really funny. She rated me at higher severity than I rated myself. There's just like so many things that I did as a kid that line up with this. The talking is one of them. When I was in school as a kid, I remember at like parent-teacher conferences and stuff, they'd be like, yeah, Jolie is great to have in class. She's like, does her work, but I can't sit her with anybody because she talks to everybody. Like, I was friends with everyone, and I would talk and talk and talk and like interrupt. That's something that I struggle with so much, is interrupting people. I think I've gotten a lot better at it than I used to be, but that is something I know I'm really bad at. But it's like, I feel like if I don't say what I'm thinking right when I think of it, I'm gonna forget, and so I end up interrupting people. But I do think I've improved on that quite a bit. I hope that I have, at least. I think that I have. That one is a fucking character flaw if I've ever known one. Definitely a problem that I had even more as a kid. My mom actually got me this shirt when I was in like 2nd grade. It was pink and sparkly and sequiny, and it said I got an A+ in talking. And I wore that shit with pride. I wore it to school so many times. I thought it was so funny. My teachers thought it was hilarious, obviously. And I really wish that I kept that shirt just as a memento for, I don't know, I think it'd be funny to still have, but I don't, unfortunately. But yeah, I think we're at about 45 minutes of this, which I think is a good stopping point for a first try of this experiment. I had a lot of fun recording this. It definitely felt like an auditory diary entry, which is fun because I'm not good at journaling. It takes too long, and I like can't think enough to express my thoughts when it takes that long to do, if that makes sense. Once I'm able to use the microphone that I have. I think this will be even better. And I'm sorry if the light reflection in my glasses was annoying. Originally I was gonna not wear them, but I have such bad eyesight that I think it would like be distracting to myself if I didn't wear them. So I hope it is okay and not frustrating. I hope so. When I've watched videos, I don't really notice it too much when people wear their glasses and like I can see the light reflection in them. So hopefully it's okay. And hopefully this was nice to listen to. I don't know if anybody's gonna listen to it, but I hope they do. Yeah, I don't have an outro planned or anything, but thank you for listening, especially if you stuck around to the end of this. That's kind of crazy to me that you did, but I'm glad you did. And hopefully in like a week or so, I'll have another episode of this up that will sound way better. Yeah, thank you very much for watching and listening, and hopefully I will see you next week. Goodbye.